met with President-elect Trump's incoming border czar, Tom Homan, pictured screen left right there. The Democrat mayor, screen right, says he and Homan share a common goal in the migrant crisis.
We're not going to be a safe haven for those who commit repeated violent crimes against innocent migrants, immigrants, and longstanding New Yorkers. That was my conversation today with the border czar, to figure out how do we go after those individuals who are repeatedly committing crimes in our city.
There we go. Incoming border czar Tom Homan had that meeting hours ago and is here to talk about it. Tom, you said some really promising things. Mayor Eric Adams has led you to believe that he's in to help you?
Absolutely. No, I've been calling Mayor Adams out for 2 years saying he forgot what it was like being a cop and became a politician because he wasn't taking enough action on public safety in the city when it comes to illegal aliens. Yesterday, I saw a complete 180. I saw the cop in him, and he has promised to work with us to target violent, criminal, illegal aliens in this city and to help us find over 300,000 missing children that this administration released to unvetted sponsors. That struck a chord with muscle. So he's promised partnership. He promised that he's going to write some EOs to get some of this stuff done and overturn some damage that Bill de Blasio did. We're talking about getting back into Rikers Island, where we used to have agents, so people don't get released. We're talking about having agents assigned in the precincts rather than release them straight to the street under this bail reform law, give them to my agents to take care of. So we promised to put our two staffs together and work out the details, but as of yesterday, he's all in.
Tom, what made him change?
I think the tragedies we've seen the last year or two, I think, whether it's, Laken Riley, and we actually talked about Laken Riley yesterday because Laken Riley was arrested in the city. And if we would have had a better cooperation,
killer.
Her killer, if we had a better relationship here, he would never got to Georgia. Right. And she'd probably be alive today. So we talked about that. So, like I said, yesterday I saw Eric Adams, a career cop, and he really cares about public safety of the city, and he wants to do what he can. And he's willing to take the hits from the left to do it because it's the right thing to do. He's putting public safety over politics. And I thought yesterday was a great day.
Tom, that should be every city, because I don't know if people understand this, but when there's a detainer, we're talking about criminals only. This is only criminals. If you're asking local law enforcement for help, it's because someone has broke the law in some way. We're not talking about, although that is a part of deportation, but your cooperation for every major city is only talking about the criminal aliens, right?
And that's what we talked about yesterday. I said, look, I'm not looking for NYP to become immigration officers.
No.
Leave that to me. But when it comes to public safety threats, we should be on the same side. And that's why I get so angry. It's just Chicago mayor, Governor Pritzker. And San Diego just passed the most damaging laws in San Diego that an illegal alien can get arrested for rape, and they're going to release them to the street rather than call ICE. So, and that's why I'm so angry, because I don't think it's it should be a partisan issue. Republicans, Democrats, Independents. When it comes to public safety, what elected mayor or elected governor doesn't want public safety threats out of their communities? So that's what angers me. But yesterday's meeting was a good meeting, and I even gave him credit because once he agreed to sit down. I'm not going to give their names yet, but 2 other mayors have reached out until I verify they're going to get to the table with me. Already reached out, so I think this starts a domino effect. Yeah. What he did is what he did.
Blue cities?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I got a feeling it was not the mayor of Chicago because you just mentioned Mayor Johnson. I know you were in Chicago on Monday, and you said that your deportation plan is going to start in a big way in Chicago. And you said the governor and the mayor can either help you or get out of the way. But you also said if he, meaning the mayor, if he impedes us, if he knowingly harbors or conceals an illegal alien, I will prosecute him. So you will not only go after the illegal migrants, you may go after some mayors who aren't helping.
If they step over that line. They can sit back and watch us, which, I find incredible. You don't want to take public safety threats out of your community and help us. But there are laws on the books that we will prosecute. It's 18 U.S.C. 111, impeding a federal law enforcement officer is a felony. Title 8 United States Code 1324 III. If you knowingly conceal or harbor an illegal alien from ICE, that is a felony. When I was an agent a long time ago, I've arrested U.S. citizens for harboring an alien in their home or place of employment. If I can do it to a citizen, why can't I do it to a politician who's going to actively get in our way, prevent us from doing our job?
Yeah. So talk about up close and personal, real story. Yesterday, we found out about a 7-year-old, Ivory Smith, who was killed by an illegal immigrant who was arrested, let go, and was drunk driving, killed dead. This is the type of thing that motivates you.
Yes, 'cause I'm throughout my career, I've seen a lot of tragedies. We've talked about many tragedies. Back with tractor trailer in 19 dead people at my feet, including a 5-year-old boy suffocated to death. I thought the girls as young as 9 years old that were raped multiple times by the criminal cartels. And once you we talked to a little 9-year-old girl and that went through that sort of hell, it changes who you are. So yeah, I'm very passionate. It isn't just about illegal immigration. It's about the sexual assault of young girls and the murder of young girls in this country this year.
And look at her. Yeah, I mean, she's dead.
It breaks
now.
my heart. It's about fentanyl. It's killed a quarter million Americans. It's about a record number of people on terrorist watch lists. It's about 600% increase in sex trafficking. It's sick. And we can stop it.
Tom.
President Trump had the most secure border of my lifetime. We had the stuff locked down, and this administration opened the border up, and we have all this bad things happening now.
Tom, I hate to put a deadline on this, but we got a lot of criminals here. I'm not talking about all the rest of I want to specifically talk about the criminals. How long do you think it will take to start the deportation proceedings of all of those criminals?
Depends on what country they're from. Some countries are easier to deport than others. China, very difficult.
They don't want them back.
They don't want them back.
Do you hold them
Venezuela.
until the deportation, till they receive them?
There's a Supreme Court ruling called Zabidas versus U.S. We can only detain somebody up to 6 months with a likelihood of removal. If there's no likelihood of removal, after 6 months, we got to release them unless there's a significant public safety threat or national security threat. That's why I am so happy that President Trump, me, the best president of my lifetime, who did more on the border, unprecedented success, he will not take no. When we arrested gang members in Long Island when he was president, El Salvador wouldn't take back MS-13. It took President Trump 48 hours until all stealing planes full of MS-13 members.
Well,
he will hold these countries accountable.
Well, the last thing is the selling off the walls going on right now. Daily Wire had the story, pennies on the dollar, the wall we paid for that sat there for 4 years. We're about to put it up. Is there anything you can do? Can the President Trump call Biden and say, knock it off?
Working on it, but I'm with you. I was actually down on the border with Governor Abbott. I was down the Arizona border with the United States Border Patrol just last week. The wall's laying there in pieces, and they're selling it for pennies on the dollar. They're sabotaging the incoming administration, going to make it difficult for us. But you know what? We're going to get this done. And whether it's a mayor or a governor or someone wants to solve a border wall, we will overcome that. We're going to secure this border, and we're going to save lives.
There's a new sheriff in town. He's sitting right there.
How many times have you been to the border? You're the border czar, the incoming border czar. You've been there so many more times than she has.
I've been there 4 times, which is 4 times more than the old border czar. And I'm looking forward to going back. I'm not waiting until January 20th. I'm already on the ground running. We're going to get this done.
Someone's got to run the country. No one else is.
Well,
Go do it.
A lot of people are behind you. Tom, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tom.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.